And then he was kissing her. And man, it felt good.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television, Friday the 13th, Mother's Day.
And man, it feels good.
1, 2, 3. There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. 'Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
All right, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television. It's a podcast about bad books. My name is J.W. Friedman, goalie mask style.
And I'm Chris. He is Risen Collision.
Ooh, perfect timing, too.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess not for the people listening to this, but for us recording.
For us recording, yeah. It's one of those great jokes that you love to hear.
Yeah.
That's completely inaccessible and abstruse and doesn't mean anything to you.
Well, I mean, it's about Jason, who is basically Jesus, so...
Yeah, so this is, exactly. Well, not to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
So, yeah, we're going to read a book that is about one who, suffered for our sins, suffered because of our sins, came back to show us the way to be, died and was resurrected. Yes, I'm speaking of Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, except kind of not, which we'll get into deeper as we progress in the plot, but you may be wondering what this book is, and I'm here to tell you what this book is.
We both are, and we read the fucking thing.
This book is $440 on Amazon for some reason.
Record scratch?
Yeah. So apparently in the 1990s, the early to mid 1990s, a fellow named Eric Morse wrote 3 novels based on the Friday the 13th universe. It's not explicitly novelizations of the movie. It's like the extended Jason universe.
Yeah, it's like an alternative Jason.
Yeah.
But basically,
he's really into Nirvana.
Yeah. He is exactly the Jason you know and love, but just in stories you haven't heard before.
Yeah, and for some reason, and I have no fucking idea why, apparently these must be notorious and we've just never heard of them or something, but yeah, if you want to pick up a paperback copy of this book, you are shelling out 400 simoleons, which is... Jesus fucking Christ, man. This is not a good book. It's like 140 pages long.
Yeah, it's a lot of wing-wangs.
Luckily, however, it's preserved on the internet for free on the Internet Archive. I don't know how that happened because I'm pretty sure that it is still under copyright. But you can read the whole thing there and download free PDFs of it. And guess which one we did?
Right. So are we encouraging you to do so? I would say extremely no. I will say that one very interesting thing that I saw while trying to figure out how to make the download work best for my needs is that the uploader is listed as Eric Morse.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to guess that it doesn't involve a lot of identity verification when you go to the Internet Archive and say, I would like to share some materials with you. However, in my universe, Eric Morse is just like, the people need to know. No. The people need to have access to this work that I've done about Jason, and I, for one, am glad that he did.
I actually think that your second option there is the truth, because obviously these books are out of print or they wouldn't be so expensive.
Right.
And I really do think that this, just judging from this book, the only thing I know about Eric Morse is what I've read in this book, but just judging from the style of this book, it strikes me as being written by someone who would really want to make sure that people can read this, for time immemorial.
Let's talk about that for a second. So, what is your mental picture of Eric Morse?
Well, it's tough because this book was written in 1994, so yeah. I don't think I can age him past that.
Right.
But
I mean your picture of Eric Morse as he's writing these books.
Late 30s, early 40s, definitely older than the characters in the books, which are mostly teenagers. But he probably still owns a lot of heavy metal T-shirts. Probably still has like cutouts from Fangoria hanging up on his wall.
Yeah.
Pretty greasy hair, wire-rimmed glasses.
Is there a baseball cap?
There's probably a baseball cap.
Which direction is it pointed?
Backwards, for sure.
Is there a beverage near his word processor, do you think? And is that beverage code red of any kind?
I think so. Eric Morse strikes me as very extreme.
He might have been a surge drinker, is I think what we're both thinking.
I think it could have been a pen name for Dan Cortez. This is probably also a guy whose idea of dressing up, I would say, involves like a button-up shirt that's way too big with a loud, colorful pattern and the top button buttoned. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe one of those shiny-ish materials like all the guys on 90210 used to wear.
And is it tucked in? Heck to the no.
No, of course not. Unless he's wearing his good pleated jeans.
This is a man who's probably been thrown out of several things in board shorts.
Yeah. Now, you know, before we get into this too deeply, I do want to say that I enjoyed reading this greatly.
Yeah.
It is not good by any means, but it's like a shot to the veins of 1990s nostalgia. And if you were alive and cognizant during the early to mid 80s, I honestly want to just go out there and say, if you like horror movies and you also want to read something so stupid it'll make you laugh, this is worth seeking out. And that's my caveat up front.
Especially because it is a very low bar of effort.
Yeah, and
right?
It's like 140 pages. I read this in 2 beers.
Right. How did you come across this?
This was tweeted at us, and somebody suggested it, and then I remembered actually getting a message in the past from a different person about, did you know there were Friday the 13th books? So this is actually a multiple time request.
Well, I feel terrible because usually I'm both the one who looks at that stuff and used to put it into a spreadsheet, and I guess I'm falling down on the job because I only found out about this because you sent me a text that said something like, for the next time we're feeling like getting spooky.
Yeah.
And I think within 30 seconds I had texted you back, I don't see a Friday the 13th on the calendar anytime soon. Let's just do it right now.
Yeah, and peek behind the curtain, I mean, we just recently did a guest appearance on another show. We did a live show. It's been a busy month for sure, so we really needed a break, and this was a good break.
This was the perfect break. It was a breath of rancid, rotten air from the grave, and was exactly the difficulty level that I was in the mood for sure.
Yeah, a breath of cool mountain air from a river that's suddenly interrupted by the smell of worms.
Oh my God, so much worms.
There's
so
a lot of
many
worms
bloods.
In this book. There is just to give you an idea of the style, you know, this is a horror novel, supposedly. It's also, I think...
Let's go, full mid-Atlantic so there's no misinterpretation.
Horror.
This is a horror novel.
Yes. It's also not geared towards older readers, I would say. So you don't necessarily need to worry about Stephen King levels of disturbing, but what you do need to worry about...
There might not even be any cursing in this book.
There is not. And there's also something else funny that I will point out later when we get to high points, low points. But there are sentences like, it was as if he had been given a whole new supply of blood, stronger and more potent, but blood with bits of glass in it. Which,
oh my God,
you all know why I'm laughing at that by now. Welcome to our dark place.
Say it with us. Blood. Blood. Blood? Blood. And bits of sick.
Yeah, exactly. That is almost verbatim in this book. It's so amazing. But I think before I just enthuse about the writing style and the absolute 90s-ness of all the 90s crap in here, we should attempt to summarize what this book is about. So here comes plot in 60 seconds. Look out, it's got a machete.
Nobody knows if you finish or not. You got 60 seconds to give them a plot. Plot in 60 seconds.
All right, so Collision, are you ready?
I am.
You have about 1 second per page to summarize this book.
Okay.
Or a half second per page, I guess.
And I'm actually going to go totally off book, which I never do this. I usually think it's a little cheap. I usually think it's low-hanging fruit. But this one is too good to pass up. That's on one hand. And on the other hand, I've gotten called out a little too often for my liking lately. The good-natured ribbing about how I don't... get it in 60 seconds has started to feel more like knives in the ribs, and I don't care for it.
And to be fair, there is no such thing as low-hanging fruit when you're talking about a bush that is knee-high.
Fair. Also fair.
This is a scrub of a book.
But what is in that bush? Could it be a hand reaching up from the grave.
Totally, in a very cinematic way. So are you ready?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm going to read what I assume was written on the back of the book originally, but is the introduction matter on the internet.org archive page.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Begin.
The first book in Eric Morse's Camp Crystal Lake novels. Billy Boone and his friends were fearless. Why else would they go camping at Crystal Lake? They had heard all the gruesome stories about Jason, and they knew why Jason wore the hockey mask, a face only a mother could love. But there are a few things Boone and his friends don't know about Jason. Like what happened to his mother's decapitated head? How did his hockey mask get in the hands, and, spoiler, on the face, of a local hunter? And why is the hunter trying to kill every teenager in the camp? Because it is Mother's Day, and Jason's mother doesn't want flowers or candy. She wants corpses.
Oh, scary shit.
Corpses!
Corpses of misanthropic teenagers.
Dead teenagers. Jesus.
So that was really good. I think we need to rewind a little bit and talk about our cast of characters here.
Hey, that's just what it said on the back of the book, man.
Yeah, no, but they did a great job, and you did a great job reading it.
And who is this book really from the point of view of? Is it Jason, Jason's mother, a hunter, or Billy Boone? Why, of course fucking not.
No, it's mostly from the point of view of, I would say, our final girl, to use horror lingo.
Spoiler!
Yeah, sorry, folks. We're going to ruin the story of this really stupid Friday the 13th book.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Here's the story of Friday the 13th. A group of teenagers goes a place, a masked killer kills all but one of them.
When they're having sex, mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's from the point of view of our surviving member, Carly, who is bookish but trying to break out of that stereotype by going to a party in the woods
with
a hot quote unquote a man. Actually, I'm just going to read this.
You should.
The Pink Princess phone, 1990s.
Fuck yes.
The Pink Princess phone rang so hard it shook the nightstand, which I didn't realize there were variable settings on that for how hard you wanted the phone to ring.
Oh, I think there was actually like a physical mechanical knob on the bottom that you could turn. And you couldn't get it all the way quiet, but it would kind of mute the bell.
Oh.
So you could still kind of, it was basically on vibrate mode at that point.
Gotcha. I just assumed Billy Boone was so manly that when he called, his rings shook the earth.
Oh, baby, when he calls you, you best believe it's not just your phone that's ringing. You know what I'm saying, ladies, and also some fellas.
Yeah, basically, when it starts, this is one of the first sentences in the non-prologue part of the book. The Pink Princess phone rang so hard that it shook the nightstand. Carly answered on the second ring. Hello? Hey, Carly. A sexy guy's voice. Boone.
But now Carly kind of is into Boone, but she really is not willing to break her mom's heart by going away for 2 nights.
Yeah, because Boone, as we haven't mentioned, is like 22 and still hanging out with teenagers.
Here's a quote from page 8.
All right.
Billy Boone was 20, a high school dropout who wore his long brown hair in a ponytail and roared around town on a motorcycle. At this point, my notes, the quote ends, and 2 words are written in all caps. Fuck, period, yes, underlined. Later on that page, we see Boone pretty much defined cool.
He did. And
as a 20-year-old man inviting a bunch of high school students to go camping.
Yeah, nothing's cooler. It also is mentioned that he lives upstairs from his parents' garage. Aww. Super cool. And you know that motorcycle? Kawasaki Ninja, called out by name. Because up until this point, I had pictured Boone as this kind of Fonzie type. Yeah. But it's around then that you realize he's more like Brian Austin Green from 90210. Oh,
harsh. So you're saying
maybe an Ian Ziering, however you say it.
You're saying his ponytail is about a thumb long?
Oh, for sure. And it didn't involve any of the hair on the top of his head. Like it's just one of those rat tail kind of deals.
But so she's not super into Boone. She's friends with Boone's little sister, and that's how Carly knows Boone. But Boone entices her onto this trip because he has secured the services of Paul Sexton.
Oh, that's subtext, folks.
Oh, yeah. Who? She repeated, her curiosity piqued. Paul Sexton. Carly stopped pacing abruptly. Come on, Boone. Seriously? Boone laughed harder. I knew that would hook you. It sure did. Paul Sexton! Paul, who had graduated last year, was only one of the hunkiest guys in town.
Hunkiest.
Hunkiest guys in town.
And he's at this point he is going to Brown.
Yeah.
Miles away. I would venture to say he is no longer one of the hunkiest guys in town, but that's a very small nitpick.
That's fair. It's also, he has this fantasy that he's going to go pro in some unnamed sport.
Wrestling. But amateur wrestling.
Oh, from Brown?
Yeah, you know, the mighty Brown Athletics program featuring their world-renowned Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah.
There is a part in the book where it's described as him intimidating someone by crossing his arms under his pectorals to make them flex, which made me think maybe he just does.
Luger.
Maybe he just does want to be a pro wrestler. That might be it. He did the booby bounce.
Now, in case you're not convinced, wait, you're the kind of reader, I assume, who doesn't want to be told that he's one of the hunkiest guys in town. You want to be shown that he's one of the hunkiest guys in town. You need some kind of evidence. He had silky blonde hair, so silky you wanted to pet it, a powerful jaw, a broad back, and rippling muscles.
That's a good description of a golden retriever.
Now, some of you, I assume, are not simply visual creatures, not simply creatures of the body and the flesh. You'd like to know, well, okay, fine, he's good looking and he's well built. What is his status like? He was captain of just about everything, and his parents were rich. I mean, so I'm, Your Honor, I have no more questions for this witness.
We also forgot to mention just kind of how Carly and Boone started hanging out. I feel like we need to mention this because it is contains two of my favorite parts of the book. One of them I'm going to have to hold back here for high points, low points. But the second one I really want to mention because, God, Boone, you're such a dick. And I can't believe this worked. So Carly's friends with his little sister. Yeah. They're hanging out. He's scoping her out. And then it says, 2 days later, he called Carly and invited her to come over, hang out, and listen to his rock band, the Rotting Corpses, while they practiced.
The Rotting Corpses.
Now, as a dude who, was a clueless teenager in the 90s, I have invited several girls to watch band practice in an attempt to impress them. Don't do that. It's really boring to watch a band practice, and nobody wants to see that.
I don't know, Jay. When we watched that documentary, The Dirt, a couple of weeks ago.
That's true.
Vince Neil's girlfriend comes with him to his basically first practice / audition with Motley Crue, and nothing related to Vince Neil and Motley Crue ever went south or sideways. So I think the evidence might contraindicate your advice, my friend.
I mean, it's a literal Scott Pilgrim move, which is definitely not the way to impress women, I feel like, but I don't know. Whatever. Come watch my band practice. I really hope you like listening to people tune and play the same part of a song 6 times in a row, because that's what we're going to do. Also, they're named the Rotting Corpses, so to use the, speaking of The Dirt, to use the Mick Mars extrapolation here, that name sucks. I'm absolutely sure their band sucks, because bands with bad names suck. Shit name, shit band,
yeah, what is
quote
it?
Unquote.
What is it? Band with a shitty name? Shitty band. How do you know? Been in a lot of bands with shitty names.
Yep. So I'm down with that. Yeah. But yeah, I could not believe that was how Boone kickstarted the weird pseudo almost romance thing.
Almost. I mean, they've just become good friends because, Boone's a red-blooded American lad of an aggressively heterosexual stripe, although he seems more to want to be an annoying little brother than, a rugged sex haver. He's no Paul Sexsmith.
Sexton. Sexsmith is more accurate, but yeah, Sexton.
He's no Paul Coxman. However, Carly is, she lives a life of the mind.
Yeah.
She
likes to study.
She likes to study. She's very athletic. And she has a very close-cropped brown haircut. So perhaps they are just good friends, if you know what I'm trying to suggest.
No, I mean, I'm just here to say that the impression I got with both Boone and Paul is that both of them are more than happy to play a fun game that male assholes that are young like to play, which is called the backup plan. And I really got the impression.
Okay, that's fair.
Really got the impression Carly is plan B for Boone if things don't go right. Because plan A, we haven't talked about yet, is the European transfer student, Monique.
Oh, God. Yeah, if you thought when you saw American Pie, this exchange student is a little too sexy and not quite broad enough for me. I feel like there's some, caricature that could be drawn even more strongly. Then this book is for you.
She's introduced as wandering out the front door of a house with, quote-unquote, she had her hands in the back pockets of her Guess jeans, which meant that she walked, she sort of sashayed, and her chest stuck way out, which it did anyway.
Whoa!
What a babe.
Come on, Eric.
And if you think that she pronounces words, articles like "the" in a horrible I dialogue, like, we need to get to the camp, then guess what? You're right.
Yeah, this is the Pepe Le Pewiest dialogue I think we've ever fucking read.
Yeah, she talks like the evil French chef in the Jimmy Buffett book that we read a while ago. Where it's like at any point you expect her to say "Sacre bleu," but she never does.
She does, however, at one point fend off both Paul and Boone, lascivious as they are, with a baguette that she pulls out of the front basket of her bicycle.
Doesn't actually happen, but I wish it did. And this book needs more berets and red scarves.
So we've almost
some
introduced...
pedal pushers, full-on Audrey Hepburn style.
Stripedy sailor shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
With cute little sleeves.
Yeah, I think that's more my thing than old Eric Morse's thing, though. He's definitely more into the types of women that could be easily described as like appearing in the background of, say, like a Vanilla Ice video, swooning.
Wow.
That's going on a lot. Okay, who are we forgetting?
Eric Morse strikes me as the kind of guy who probably taped only certain parts of In Living Color to watch later.
The parts with Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, the parts with the Fly Girls. Okay, so we've got all the characters except 3. 2 of them we don't really need to talk about. It's Hippie Boy and Hippie Girl.
Who...
They're hippies.
We'll get into... Actually, this is one of my low points, so I can't say too much about it. But yeah, they're hippies. They're a couple.
Right.
They're joined at the hip, quote unquote, and they're kind of presented as one entity.
Yeah, they're always kind of like,
we're in love and we're teenagers and we never stop making out.
They're definitely the kind of teens who describe their activities as sucking face.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's the last character.
I'd say he's the reader insert for many of the people reading this book, myself included.
Wow, we are fucking fighting now.
I don't know. I'm just saying for me, the character I related to the most is, guess what? The nerd. Oh. His name's Albert. He's Paul Sexton's freshman roommate at Brown. He is a very, in all but name, a very broadly drawn stereotype of a Jewish nerd who is chubby and has bad curly hair and is obsessed with his mother. And it's really, yeah. And of course, he desperately falls in love with Carly right up front and Monique because every man in this book is in love with both of them.
It does kind of get at the desperate hormone gonad driven teenage boy mentality.
This book is horned up to like the nth degree. It's essentially sexless. I think some off-screen sex occurs.
Some off-screen sex,
but
is hinted at occurring.
But oh my god, this book is horny. It's really, really funny.
You might say that in being extremely horny and extremely sexless, it accurately represents a certain kind of high school experience with which at least one of your hosts might be intimately familiar.
Yeah, I would say that goes for both of us to an extent, for sure.
Oh, no, I was definitely just talking about you.
Oh, fuck you. Dude, whatever. I invited girls over to band practice.
At least
You know what happens after that? They leave. and don't call again.
Yeah, no, I had no band to invite to practice. So, yeah, I invited them to come over and watch me eat jelly beans and read books about unicorns.
Have you ever tried D&D?
And you know what happens after that? You wonder why no one returns your calls anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so there's Albert, and he's definitely the punching bag of the group.
Everyone makes fun of him for being overweight, for being scared of everything.
He's a bit scared of everything.
For having a healthy relationship with his parents.
He's a bit of a nebbish.
Yeah, for sure. If you were gonna cast this as a movie now, he would be Josh Gad, I would say, or a younger version. He's that type of character.
He wears sunblock.
Yeah. Oh, what a weenie.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the unique, not at all broad, not at all stereotyped or stand-in kind of characters that we have in a world. Now, maybe we should talk a little bit about the world.
Yeah. The world building, if you will.
Oh, I mean, because it's so just deftly drawn. It's not a lot of strokes. We've alluded to the fact that this is a short novel. But, it's a little like a haiku or a beautiful pen and ink drawing where every line just does so much.
It's true. Yeah, so they live in a town.
I think it's called Townville?
Something like that, yeah. And it's basically Riverdale, but not the cool TV show version, the comic book version. And then they go to a camp. And the camp is out in the sticks, and the people who live around there don't have all their teeth. And there are old gas stations that are closed down.
Is there kind of a gas station where things aren't as you'd expect them to be? And you're just trying to buy some gasoline and some ice-cold Coca-Cola, and perhaps somebody walks up to you and starts telling you things like, sometimes Dad is better.
Yeah, it's got a Stephen King light vibe to it, where they're just waiting around this closed gas station for some reason. Like,
as you do.
Yeah, somebody's going to open this place up soon, and a man in overalls comes down and just starts going on and on about, you shouldn't be in these woods, There's a killer, and he likes to kill teenagers. Ha ha, he wears a mask. I bet you heard about all of this. I am Exposition Man.
Yeah.
Please enjoy my folksy New England flair.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there is one character we have actually somehow forgotten to mention.
Who's that?
The Hunter.
Oh, yeah. Who has a name, but I forgot it, and it doesn't matter.
Let's just call him Tab Hunter.
Yeah, that sounds good. And he's actually our first character we meet in this story when he's out poaching deer for fun.
Motherfucker. Yeah, he doubles down. It's like you're not even off the first page, which has started halfway down the page. And he's already thinking, yeah, sure, fine. It's illegal to kill a doe, but it's not even hunting season anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah, I'm here to have some fun killing stuff.
Automatically doubling down on his evil. You're like, the only thing he doesn't do is like finish a Snickers bar, look at a garbage can, and ostentatiously drop the wrapper not into the can. You know what I mean?
It's a good point. Doesn't light any matches on his teeth or anything.
Yeah, littering is actually one of my favorite cinematic this is a villain shorthands.
Yeah, I especially like it when it involves beer cans being thrown out of a moving vehicle.
Yeah.
That's a good one. He has a beard that covers most of his face, as beards do. And
yeah, that is how a beard, if you cannot describe a beard as covering most of the face, what you're describing is a patchy beard.
Or a chin strap.
Or a specific kind of beard. Yeah, a chin strap.
Which, to be fair, in the world of this book would not be too out of the ordinary.
A Van Dyke, a goatee, etc.
Yeah, so you're talking about a beard or you're talking about a new metal facial hairstyle. It's one or the other. The various assortments of, your Limp Biscuits, your Static X's, etc., etc.
And does this hunter do it all for the nookie? No, he does not.
No, he doesn't. He does it all for a shoebox that he's found that contains Jason Voorhees' mother's severed head. And
Well, that's fucked.
yeah, it is. And then she tells him to dig at a certain point, and then he finds a hockey mask with worms on it. Yes. Just the first of many worm-filled scenes in this book. And then he puts on the hockey mask. His blood gets bits of glass in it, and the next thing you know, he's Jason 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, with a big old hunting knife. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not Jason without the machete.
Well, also in several scenes, he just shoots people with a shotgun, which I'm like, as far as like horror movie scariness goes, that's a cheap shortcut, man.
Yeah, if I want to be horrified by shotguns, I'll turn on the news.
Yeah,
thanks.
I was like, yeah, I'll just drive out of town for about 45 minutes. And,
Yeah.
Okay,
So I think we're starting to get away from pure description and start getting into a little bit of judgment for the first time. I'm sure. We were probably not judging before, right?
No,
Right.
definitely not. No, just presenting just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
So perhaps now it's time for high points and low points.
High points are high,
And the points are low.
high points.
No points, get ready to go.
Agreed. So, high points, low points. I think I'll start us off here with a high point. My high points are going to be pretty narrow in this because they're basically just sentences that made me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And it's actually really hard to pick just two of those because this book is written in the dumbest possible way. But this, by far, is one of my favorite. It is when they first arrive at the campground. I'm going to kind of condense two parts here. But it's Boone's cool guy dialogue here at the campground. The first thing that happens when they stop is he gets off his bike, and this is an exact quote. Boone yodeled. His voice echoed in the woods. "We're going to have a little blast!" Who has ever yelled, "We're going to have a little blast"?
We're going to have a beer bust, fellows.
I just love, "We're going to have a little blast," and it says he yelled it. It's like, it's a very strange thing to yell.
You could mutter that and make it maybe sound kind of cool if you did like the James Dean Montgomery Clift, like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a little blast, baby." You know, like maybe, but I don't know. I feel more creeped out by what I just said than
It's pretty creepy.
exhorted to party.
Have you ever had a better offer? A little blast with all of them. It was just very strange. And then after that comes, I would say, within, literally the same page, they ask Boone what the plan is to do, and this is how he replies. "Step 1, Boone said, raising a finger in the air. We pick cabins. Settle in. Step 2, I give you a guided tour of Boone's amazing camp and party center. Step 3, a campfire and cookout complete with..." He pulled a red and white cooler he had loaded out of Kyle's van. "Brewski!"
Yes.
There were cheers. So this is a man who has just yelled, "There's a little blast."
Yeah.
Or "We're going to have a little blast." Then he says he's going to give them a tour of Boone's amazing camp and party center, which sounds like a cut-rate Bass Pro Shop.
Yep.
And then uses the word brewski unironically.
Okay, also all the brewskis that have been brought are in one cooler. Let's assume Boone is normal size guy.
And he's 20.
And he's 20. How many beers, like how big a cooler could he possibly be hefting?
Well, it's specifically described as a red and white cooler, so I know exactly what cooler they're talking about.
I think you're talking about the pyramid top kind of thing, which holds, I believe, 18 cans.
Yeah, tops. And
There's
that's
7
really
kids.
pushing it.
And Carly has 3, as we'll know, because I may read that part later, because the part where Carly drinks precisely 3 beers
And then gets
is amazeballs.
Bust up. Yeah, and then a couple of those beers are wasted with Paul and Boone spraying them on each
Playing
other.
grab ass like a bunch of fucking amateurs.
Yeah, spraying beers at each other. So when you think about it, really what you're left with is, let's say, about 14 beers to share amongst 7 teenagers.
Yeah.
Party fucking time.
Woo! Yeah, and it was not established that there are beers at the gas station. So you're, as far as you know, 2 hours from beer.
Yeah, and plus nobody's 21, right? I mean, if they were, they wouldn't be
that's a
cheering
good
when he
point.
said he has beer. Like,
That's true.
woo,
Well,
beer, you went to the grocery store, woo!
That's a good point. We assume Boone can buy beer.
I don't think he can. He's 20.
Well, he's got the beer.
Yeah, but he probably he has a hookup. He probably had.
That's a really good point. He
knows a dude at the local 7-Eleven.
You know
or
what?
Something.
You're right. I was assuming that Boone could buy beer were there beer to be bought, but I think you're right. I think this is I'm just going to come out and say it. Two things. One, I was wrong. Two, Boone, not a great planner.
No, definitely not. And I mean...
And this is the strongest evidence that he's not a good planner, not the part where he took a bunch of horned-up teenagers to the place where horned-up teenagers get routinely killed.
Yeah, and all of the cabins and stuff are described as being filthy as hell and covered with insects. It's like, yep, this is definitely going to get everyone's motors running.
What? I was out here with my sister last week, and we really had a good time.
That's exactly what he says. He says, they went camping here, and it was great. Why are you all so spoiled? I also think anyone of legal age to buy beer is not going to whip out a fucking cooler and be like, I got brewskis. That is a straight up amateur move.
I'm definitely going to try that though the
next time I'm hanging out with a group of teenagers, I'll try it. Yeah. No, I won't, because I don't. Thank you. I know it's hard to believe. I don't actually do that. All right, Collision, high points.
Yeah, here's a high point, and this is maybe more representative of, as you hinted, how the book treats its audience stand-in character. So what we have here is a scene where Albert Harris is being chased through the woods by not the killer, but a killer.
But secondary killer.
Why this book had to double up on killers is a little beyond me. But
I can tell you exactly why. Because if the same guy had to kill all 7 teenagers, that would be 50 more pages. And that's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work. So what's not very much work is to rip off Psycho.
Yeah. I mean, we're not just implying here that the subtext of Psycho was ripped off.
No,
we're talking about actual dude with a dead mother that he talks to.
Yeah. So Albert has gone for a long walk because he wants to walk back and call his mom on Mother's Day. And so he gets to the gas station and the phone doesn't work. And he's like, oh no, she could get the call, but she couldn't hear me. Now she's probably actually afraid. So he hikes up to the creepy caretaker's house, breaks and enters, and discovers a dead woman sitting in the kitchen.
No!
At which point he hears Varner, the caretaker,
the aforementioned
creepy gas
station guy who's like, I live in a house in the back with my dear old ma, which he says several times.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention, we're bad at foreshadowing.
Right. So is this book. And the secret revealed, Varner comes at young Albert with a pair of scissors. So Albert goes for a run. And
not a pair of scissors, gardening shears that he's using to clip coupons. And then he's running after him with gardening shears like Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Anyway, continue.
Exactly. Again, so what I really like about this is how the book thinks of its own audience.
Yeah.
Albert had left a dirt road, thinking he might lose himself in the woods. Mistake number 9,000,001, he now told himself. Come on, knock it off with this negative self-talk, buddy. These country folk probably knew every trail, every rock, every stick of these woods. Albert was no longer sure which direction he was headed in. He'd probably end up back at Varner's house. He couldn't think like that. He yelled at himself to run faster, faster. All those years of coaches screaming at him, "Move, Harris! Shake it, Harris!" He'd never met a phys ed teacher he didn't hate. Now, he had found the ultimate phys ed nightmare. A coach with a pair of kitchen shears about 6 inches long. A coach who wanted to punish him for being out of shape. With death.
I just wanted to say, if you ever have a phys ed teacher who tells you to shake it, you should report them to the authorities immediately.
I want to note, I found some of the body shaming in this book unacceptable, so I edited that on the fly.
Oh, okay.
It was slightly more specific in the book, but I didn't feel like reading that out loud.
Yeah, that's true. Albert is very much put through the ringer for not being a physical specimen like everyone else in this book.
Yeah.
And it's really, really crass and unfair. So, okay.
Yeah. So, sorry about that. I should have flagged that. But anyway, I really thought that was... not to put too fine a point on it, relatable for me personally and my experiences in gym classes.
I agree. I started taking extra music classes very early in high school because I found out I could, and then I wouldn't have to take gym. It was awesome.
Nice.
So, okay, low points. I want to talk a little bit about Kyle and Suzanne, the couple who their name is written as one word many times because they're that much the same person.
Which is actually kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like one of the only parts of this that kind of lands.
So what you're going to say is that you want to sing a little ditty?
Not
About
yet.
Kyle and Suzanne, two American kids getting it on in their van.
Oh, nice, in the VW van.
Oh, yeah, hit that bomb.
Well, see, no, this is what I'm getting at right here, right? They're described as being the quintessential fucking hippie kids from the 90s, which that was a thing. I had friends like that, that wore Doors shirts all the time and, like patchouli and all that nonsense. That was definitely a thing.
But they weren't listening to Jimi Hendrix. They were wearing Jimi Hendrix t-shirts, but they were listening to, like, De La Soul, Groove is in the Heart, Soup Dragons, like all that shitty.
No, there were definitely plenty of stoners I knew in high school that still listened to like classic rock stuff.
Yeah, but those were the Heshers. Those weren't like the hippie kids.
That's true. That's a good point. But either way, the point that I'm getting to here is they're described as, they do yoga and they meditate and they're into all this hippie shit. Never once does either of them smoke marijuana. They even are traveling in a VW van by themselves that's blaring Jimi Hendrix and like it pulls up last in this vehicle's caravan and they're like the doors open and outwash and I'm like, here comes the
cloud
pot
of smoke.
And it's like the loud sounds of Jimi Hendrix and they're like, oh, we lost track. We were listening to some grooving tunes. And all right, so I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. These two kids, if they were going on your camping trip, they would like be packing like a half ounce of the shittiest weed imaginable and like would just be smoking foul smelling joints at like constantly through this entire trip. So that really took me out of the world that this built.
I think that's fair. I think it had to, because I think you're exactly right. I think the movies were predominantly R-rated. I think this book was aimed at a little bit younger audience.
It definitely was. And I mean, as you mentioned, there's not swearing in this book.
I mean, it's not Scholastic. I checked. It's Berkeley Press, which is tentatively, don't quote me on this, but I think it's identified as a subsidiary of New Line Film. So it's clearly just like, well, maybe we'll try to extend our audience a little bit.
Yeah, but the length of the book and the writing style would indicate to me it's for younger audiences.
Super
for sure.
Scholastic vibes for certain.
But yeah, so there's no weed smoking and there's no swearing. But yeah, the fact that you have these two characters who are stoners in all but name.
Yeah.
And they don't fucking annoy everyone around them by like, constantly puffing on shitty smelling dirt weed. That bugged the hell out of me. Like Kyle is the type of dude who had one of those little miniature bongs you buy at the gas station in his glove compartment.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah. So I guess I owe you a low point. I will just say that I don't know how the book took shape, quite the shape that it did. In general, the even-numbered chapters are the ones with, like, kills and gory stuff, which is why we're here. It's Friday the 13th, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But those of us who remember how numbers work know that for every even-numbered chapter, there's usually at least one odd-numbered chapter.
Yeah.
And those are less successful.
Those are the quote-unquote romance chapters or just the teens having fun chapters.
And that is actually in, a moral way, far more ghastly and horrible than any of the cheesy kill scenes.
I agree.
But it's just tiring and it's just bad, including like one of the longest date rape scenes I've ever read, and in a 140-page book, it did not need to take up that much space and was just skin crawling.
It is skin crawling, and to be fair, however, our heroine does end up successfully fighting off this guy's advances and kind of embarrassing him in front of his friends, which is good.
Which is good.
Yeah, so it doesn't end in the worst possible way, but there's still way more of it than anybody needed to read.
Yeah.
Which I guess rolls kind of right into my second low point, which is just the fact that, like, every single boy in this book, even Albert, who's supposed to be the nice guy or whatever, is just horned up to the point where they just want to get laid. Yeah. And, like, there's not, like, anybody particularly like, ooh, you know, I really like Carly. I feel a connection with her. It's like, Carly's pretty cute, but if I can't sleep with her, I guess I'll try talking to Monique or whatever. And it's really kind of gross. And yes, I know that's how teenage boys think, but maybe you don't need to reify it in a fucking novel form.
I think that's fair.
Like, maybe give kids something more aspirational to shoot for, like actually caring about somebody before you decide you're going to try to sneak into their cabin at night and have a seductive conversation.
I think that's extremely fair. Jack and Suzanne are sort of presented as actually liking each other, but they're barely characters.
Yeah, I mean, they're presented as a single entity. And, which, to be fair, I mean, I'm thinking back about, like, those years for me.
I definitely knew some of those couples.
And I had friends who had been couples for 3 or 4 years, and if you hung out with one of them, you always hung out with both of them. You kind of thought of them as one person. That's kind of realistic in a way. But, yeah, I mean, all of the single dudes in this are just fucking gross hornballs. And it's really, I mean, I don't want to be like, it's a negative portrayal of men, because it's actually pretty fucking accurate. But I feel like, yeah, give us something a little more aspirational than that. That's all.
Yeah. Just model a better world in your hacky, you know, rip-off of something novel designed to make $3. And it's basically like making a cartoon character your cigarette mascot.
Yeah.
You're just trying to intrigue them so that by the time they're old enough to consume your product, they've heard of your product and might be interested in consuming it.
Yeah, like, I mean, at least have your nerdy guy be heartbroken when the girl that he thinks he has a connection with decides that she's going to sleep with someone else, instead of immediately going, well, guess I'm going to fixate on a different woman now. It's like, I don't know. Well, whatever.
Yeah. So I guess I owe you another low point. It's honestly a little bit hard to find a genuine low point in a book like this, because the book is so much what it is. Like, any criticism we could make that we haven't already made could be very honestly, and I think effectively, rebutted by somebody saying, it's a 140-page long Friday the 13th novel. What were you expecting?
Or actually just saying, that part that you just said was bad was actually fucking hilarious, which is true about everything except for, I think, the 2 serious points we just made. And even that, once again, is a product of what it's based on, right? Like, Friday the 13th movies have the same fucking problems with sexual politics. So.
Oh, they're so much worse.
Yeah, they're way worse.
Because they are actually R-rated.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that, but the killing in those is, like, legitimately gory and bloody and fucked up. So I'm going to give it the tiniest low point. There is a long scene with Boone and Monique in a canoe. Right, Boone, like I said, he's actually not super sexual except in this scene. The rest of the time, he just is like this rambunctious kid who's interested in activities.
He's fucking Dennis the Menace, but with beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he runs all over, finally finds a canoe and a paddle, and I was like, yes, there's something to do. And everybody's looking at him like, you're a munch.
Yeah.
And so he convinces Monique to abandon Paul and go for a little canoe ride. And there's this thing where they're getting stalked by an undersea killer. And he is somehow surprised that Monique has been stabbed and is dead at the other end of the canoe. Now, I've been in more than one canoe.
Where someone got stabbed?
No.
Because
Yet.
Yeah, I'm like, this podcast is over. I don't want you in my house anymore.
I mean, maybe I was the one who got stabbed. Maybe I'm a survivor. Maybe I don't need to be attacked. Maybe I already have enough survivor's guilt.
Are you the final girl?
Oh. Well, I'm not a virgin, as far as anyone listening to this knows. But just logistically, it is impossible not to know that the other person in a canoe has slumped over and is bleeding.
It's a good point. Canoes, you're pretty attuned to the movements occurring around you.
Yeah, you want to talk about something that took you out of the book. That took me out of the book very, very badly. It's like, you have mistaken a canoe for a yacht, my good man.
Yeah, I thought you were going to zero in on his methods of seduction, because at one point he decides he's finally got his chance when Monique says she really needs a massage, and he's described as saying in a quote-unquote Groucho Marx voice, "Oh, you need a massage, eh?" Which...
You said the magic word.
Yeah, you said the magic word. Now, let me tell you, in 1994, what teenage girl isn't going to flip their shit over someone doing a bad Groucho Marx impression?
Yeah, there is his other main technique is lie down in the bottom of the boat so we can do it, Monique. And she says, I think fairly reasonably, again, drawing on my background in canoes, no, it's gross down there.
Yeah.
And his witty riposte is more or less, come on.
Come on, who cares?
Yeah.
We're just going to be doing it.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to notice that it's gross.
I've done it.
I'm plenty gross on my own, baby. You won't even notice the canoe.
You'll hardly notice the filth is there. What with the filth I'm going to bring to the party?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I get you another brewski? Would that convince you?
There's a lot of that in this book, too. A lot of just kind of soft persuasion that's a little gross. Oof. But it does all come across as just like dudes like kind of whining like,
soft.
Why won't you do it with me? I'm cool. I'm on the football team.
Wheedle them into sex. Yeah. Soft persuasion with funny voices. The very successful high school boys strategy we all know to love.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing works like that except for maybe like, I don't know, maybe Boone's about to go home and then write like a really embarrassing song about how Monique doesn't love him and then play it on the acoustic guitar for her.
Okay, that I would have been there for, but I don't think Boone is really an acoustic guitar guy.
Yeah, the Rotting Corpses probably don't have any acoustic in their set.
What do you think Boone does in the Rotting Corpses?
He's almost certainly the drummer.
I kind of thought he might be the singer.
Oh, the singer that doesn't play an instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You know, he's sort of like a Danzig type without the pipes.
Speaking of which, did you hear they're about to release a Danzig Does Elvis covers album?
Jesus Christ.
And he's all excited about it. He's like, I grew up listening to Elvis. It's like, yeah, no shit, dude. We've heard your music.
Yeah. Wow. What's next? You've heard of Roy Orbison? This is the sound of my mind blowing.
Yeah, it was also accompanied by a picture of modern Danzig. And, he's really, really ripped now.
Oh, yeah.
And he's still very tiny. But now I noticed, like, he looks like a human being drawn by Rob Liefeld, the comic book artist.
Yeah.
It's like... And you never see his feet for some reason. I don't know.
A lot of pouches.
Yeah.
The thing about Danzig is that he's not tiny. He's just short.
He's compact.
It's like he's from a world with heavier gravity than ours.
That's true, yeah.
You know, because he's 4 feet wide and probably 3.5 feet thick.
Yeah,
he's just 5.5 feet tall.
That's a good point. And then there's still that awesome video of him getting punched out by one of the guys in like Drowning Pool or something. Which
I can't even remember who it is.
I think it's Drowning Pool.
It's not Drowning Pool. It's the Something Kings.
Cottonmouth Kings?
No, it's like the Go Off Kings or the Chesterfield Kings or some shit. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I'll try to link to it in the show notes. There's two dudes who get in a Danzig and another guy go in a shoving match about the opening band going too long.
Yeah, which is hands down the most douchey thing you can get mad about as a musician, by the way.
And Danzig gives the classic two-hand shove to the other man's chest, and the other man then lands one haymaker right on the point of the jaw. And as a woman in the background screams, "You knocked him the fuck out!"
It's pretty amazing. It's like it's World Star for the metal set.
Yeah.
You've got to check it out. It's the "Oh, you mad because I'm styling on you" of the heavy metal world. And if you didn't get that reference, that's worth looking up too.
Okay.
Okay, so high points, right?
That was definitely a low point for Danzig.
Yeah.
But a high point for Danzig pretty much stopped after 20 eyes, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But what about a high point for this book?
This kind of ties right into what we were just talking about, actually. My favorite part here is that a dude fully gets styled on for being the obnoxious acoustic guitar guy at a fucking party.
That's a high point for you?
Well, it is because they shut him down.
We're very different people.
Kyle, hang on. It was pitch dark now, except for the glowing embers and small flickers of the dying campfire. But there was still enough smoke to keep off the mosquitoes. Kyle was tuning up his guitar. He started playing his favorite tunes, The Doors, Beatles, and Stones. Don't you know anything current? Boone asked him. That stuff is so dead. That part made me really happy.
That's fucking harsh.
Because that was the 90s equivalent of Anyway, Here's Wonderwall. And I have been to so many parties where asshole dudes decided they were going to play Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. And nothing makes me want to leave a party faster than a young man whipping out an acoustic guitar and busting out the Floyd. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, you think that what's good about Floyd is just it's an acoustic guitar and a guy's voice. But no. See, the thing about Floyd, man,
is Alan Parsons.
They used the studio as an instrument.
By which you mean Alan Parsons, who produced all of their good records, used the studio as an instrument. Yeah. He's really the fifth Floyd, if you will, or the sixth Floyd, I guess, if you count Sid Barrett.
By the way, I know that this is a tangent, and I actually promised myself on the way over here, like, no music tangents.
Oh, whatever.
I know I've gone a little too far into the deep end on that. And
it's
I know
the most fun thing to talk about. I don't care. Nobody listening cares. If they do, they're listening to the wrong show.
I just worry because I feel like when I do it, sometimes it's not clear that what I'm trying to do is share the love and have fun with it. I think sometimes I come off a little censorious or a little judgmental, and that's why I was trying to avoid it this time. But this time I want to be judgmental and censorious, and I want to be judgmental and censorious at the Alan Parsons Project. So as you alluded to, Jay, and as possibly the listeners know, peak 70s Floyd.
The trippy Floyd, quote unquote. Well, no, that's not true. Sid Barrett stuff was pretty trippy, but the stuff that you think of, the radio singles that you think of when you think of Floyd.
Your Dark Sides, pretty much just that, because that's the only stuff that made it to the radio.
Yeah.
But any Floyd you've ever heard on the radio, with the exception of stuff from The Wall, was probably produced / engineered by this guy, Alan Parsons.
Yeah, and Alan Parsons is really notable for being kind of a pioneer in the studio and kind of being the first to do a lot of things with like tape loops and, using effects really heavily as part of the sound. And it was kind of the predecessor to guys like Nigel Godrich, who worked with Radiohead on OK Computer and a lot of these other real kind of studio ingenue type dudes who, auteurs in the studio that were really good at kind of putting production on top of, I don't want to say on top of an average band, because I do like Radiohead, but like really enhancing the sound of the live band with things that maybe they couldn't necessarily do live.
Yeah. And I think that's precisely the point. And it's augmenting and just making a real experience out of what's going to come out of the speakers when you drop the needle onto it. And the thing about Alan Parsons is that he then formed his own band, the Alan Parsons Project.
Which, in case you couldn't tell by the name,
kind of a one-man show. I mean, no, he brought like famous singers in to do stuff and all that. But their second record is called iRobot. And in terms of making it a total experience, there would be a lot of attention paid to the packaging and all of that. So here's something that it reads on the inside cover of iRobot. iRobot, the story of the rise of the machine and the decline of man, which paradoxically coincided with his discovery of the wheel, and a warning that his brief dominance of this planet will probably end because man tried to create robot in his own image. I have listened to this record in its entirety, and I don't think it's about that at fucking all.
It's sort of like how Tarkus isn't really about a mechanical armadillo.
Side one is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I need to go back and re-listen to Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Tarkus, which has the best album cover in the world. You've probably seen Collision post it multiple times.
Because I posted a lot.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my musical contention for this episode. iRobot by the Alan Parsons Project, despite its own liner notes, is not, in fact, a concept album.
I think it was just cool to say everything was a concept album back then, because I'm trying to think. I can't think of an Alan Parsons Project song. I keep thinking of Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Right.
Incredibly different group.
You've heard like 4 of them. None of them are very good. The good one on this record is Wouldn't Want to Be Like You.
Oh, okay.
Which is just a straight disco song played by a rock band.
Yeah.
The other kind of good ones are Eye in the Sky, which is not off this record. And I think Eye in the Sky starts with the sample that the Chicago Bulls used to come onto the court to. The little...
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that little analog synthiness.
Yeah, which I think also Aesop Rock might have sampled
He's
None Shall Pass and sped up till it's all but unrecognizable.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. He had some pretty crazy production on that record. Yeah. Anyway, wow. Okay, yeah, we did go off on a tangent.
Yeah, and I still owe you a high point.
You do. I'm guessing it's not an Alan Parsons Project record.
No, but I will say that the Alan Parsons Project Greatest Hits experience is okay. They really are a band you want to hear one song by on classic radio every couple of weeks.
Okay.
Anyway, so some of a big high point for me is that some of the horror in this book I thought was actually done pretty well, especially with respect to it being the Friday the 13th subset of the slasher genre. Nothing is better illustrative of this than the illustration on the cover, which is a grisly hand protruding from the earth and menacing a girl's Nike shoe.
Running shoe, because running takes full fucking jumps right to the front of the frame for about 4 chapters of this book.
Yeah. So you know that this is actually top fucking notch, because not only did the guy who wrote the back of the book cover, the gal, or probably the shitty abused intern who wrote the back of the book, actually had read the book. That scene with the hand happens in the book.
It does.
And I'm going to read it to you right now. She turned and plunged across the field, running twice as fast as before. The open graves seemed everywhere now. She stepped in one grave, felt the bones breaking under her feet. Some of the bodies were more decomposed than others. The second grave she stepped in, she felt something squish. The third grave she managed to avoid. But as she ran by, a bony hand shot up out of the ground and grabbed her ankle. She was screaming now. Or maybe she wasn't screaming. She no longer knew. She pulled on her ankle as hard as she could, but the hand was powerful and held her firm. She yanked her foot with all her might and finally managed to pull it free. There was a snapping sound. For the first time, Carly realized what had really happened. She'd caught her foot on a root. There was no skeleton, no hand. She was losing her mind. She ran without looking back, which was why she didn't see the skeleton's hand slithering back into the ground.
That's not... You can't go, that wasn't what actually happened. Oh, wait, that is what happened.
Au contraire, mon frère, because Eric Morse did just go, that's not what happened, but that is what just happened.
My favorite part is that almost all of the scary and gory parts end at the end of a chapter with like a pithy phrase.
Oh,
like,
yeah, so good.
The first kill in this book actually is the hunter's boss, where he comes home and he's talking to his wife about how this guy hasn't been into work and he's worried about him and stuff. And then they're going to go back inside and he's like, wait, let me open the door. And it says, I guess chivalry wasn't dead after all. But unfortunately, as the shotgun blast hit him in the chest, he knew this would be his last act of chivalry ever because he was dead.
Yeah, it's so good.
And every chapter, the odd number chapters, as you mentioned, ends this way.
So good. Yeah, there's that great kill shot. All the ends are pithy, but yeah, you're right. My high point is a little bit like I never liked you. I'm just kidding. No, seriously, I don't fucking like you, dude.
Yeah.
Which is maybe not the best storytelling technique.
It's clumsy, but so is everything else here, so that's okay. I guess we should probably take a break. We've been talking about, once again, I was like, this is going to be a short episode. There's not much to talk about. Wrong-o.
6 hours in.
Yeah. Turns out I have a lot to say about Guess jeans and Nike running shoes.
Oh, boy, do I.
Yeah. Hanging out on the boardwalk in an airbrush t-shirt with a Looney Tune dressed like a gangsta.
Yeah, exactly. Except it's not even a t-shirt. It's just like a sleeveless tee. And it wasn't quite sleeveless enough, so I cut it way down so you could see my killer sick ribs.
The more I think about this book, the more I've realized like this book is the literary equivalent of like a t-shirt you would buy on the boardwalk with airbrushed like slogans of the day. Like it's the equivalent of like, you know, a Supreme shirt that says Rick and Morty, except like from the 1990s.
So it's basically the book equivalent of Tweety Bird with a do-rag on.
Yeah, or like Bugs Bunny as Scarface.
Right, yeah.
I recently watched Vanilla Ice's Cool as Ice movie. Yes.
Without me?
Sorry, I should have invited you. There's a lot in common here, especially as far as fashion and the way teenagers act when they're in love. Oof. So, yeah. Let's take a break.
You might say the real horror is how our nation's youth have been sexualized.
It's true. It used to be such an innocent time filled with Guess jeans and fucking Nike running shoes.
Fucking machetes everywhere.
Yeah, and weird ponytails and Kawasaki ninjas. So we're going to take a break, and I'm going to squeeze into my gerbots, and then we'll be back. So stick around.
Yeah, I'm going to polish my Oakleys.
Welcome back. We're speeding back into your eardrums in our gleaming red Porsches. Porsches?
I was just creeped out by speeding back into your ears.
Yeah, it's some body horror for you. But yeah, so this is the part of the show where we play some games. And I think it's time to start out with, let's say, a segment that's been probably on your mind since the beginning of the show. And we're only beginning to unearth it right now. That was really bad.
The grisliest segment in podcasting history.
There we go. Dramatic readings. Here's a song.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
All right, so dramatic readings. We're going to take pieces from this book and read them to you, the listener. And I guess I'll start us off here. And this is going to be basically the quote-unquote, the band's just gotten together, which is to say all 7 of our teens have now met up and are getting ready to start taking a caravan north to Crystal Lake.
Oh yeah, we've put our team together.
Yeah, we have.
We've gone through the team montage.
Yeah, we now have our computer expert, our sexy femme fatale, the one guy who can dress up like a businessman and infiltrate the systems and distract people while another guy crawls through the air vents to the tune of like some Prodigy or Chemical Brothers.
You've got your acrobat.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of your second story man. You've got the guy who's just got a pistol and he's got a dark past and maybe his eye twitches a little bit and everybody just calls him Gunny.
And then all this stuff happens like to the tune of Fatboy Slim or something until like the one scene where you cut to the guy who's like got to be high society and distract someone and some really cliche classical music plays right on the downbeat while he's in a restaurant like talking to someone about stock futures.
Yeah, it goes straight from like that. What was that one really shitty I think it was Fatboy Slim. It was all I remember is the vocal sample.
Praise You?
No. Barrow, whatever
and
it was.
And then it would just stop and then be like... And then be like, guy looking at his watch in a fancy restaurant, and then we cut right back to action. Yeah. Totally.
A lot of helicopter shots.
Yeah, for sure. The 90s were a wild time, man.
God, they were fun.
Okay, so...
They were fucking awful.
Here we go. When they drove up to his house, Kyle was sitting cross-legged on the front lawn next to his black guitar case and large aluminum frame backpack. He was a stocky but good-looking senior with long brown hair which he combed straight back. His eyes were closed. "He looks dead," Albert commented. "Probably meditating," Carly explained. Kyle had always been kind of a hippie, but since he and Suzanne had started going out, they had both gotten into the whole 60s trip in a big way. They had even started an environmental group at school. They even ate crunchy granola.
What?
Paul honked. Kyle just opened his eyes and smiled. Then the front door of Kyle's house opened and out bounced Suzanne, tall and gangly and waving both arms in greeting. Her red hair looked coppery, wow. Her red hair looked coppery in the sunshine. She was wearing a purple tie-dyed t-shirt, a necklace of wooden beads, and short cutoffs that made her legs look way too long, like a giraffe. Did I get the instructions wrong? Muttered Albert in the back seat. You did say we were going camping, right, Paul? Not going to Woodstock? Carly couldn't think of a good comeback. So she just got out of the car. So did Paul. Albert stayed in back. Suzanne loped over to Carrie and gave her a big hug. Suzanne, Carrie said into her shoulder, I just saw you an hour ago in English class. Well, hugs are affirming, Suzanne said. Suzanne had already been wearing her nose ring for a month now, but Carly still couldn't get used to the sight of metal-piercing nostril. She looked away. This is Paul Sexton, Carly said, though she knew he needed no introductions. Woo! Suzanne said, gaping openly. Then she covered her mouth, giggling, and said, whoops! Paul just grinned. Carly glanced down at Kyle to see if he minded Suzanne's reaction. Apparently not.
Sorry, I forgot I'm not in the crowd for a Married with Children taping.
Apparently not. Kyle had his eyes closed again. The front door of Kyle's house opened a second time, and out came Monique. She had her hands in the back pockets of her Guess jeans, which meant that as she walked, she sort of sashayed, and her chest stuck way out, which it did anyway. She made a grand approach down the pavement like a model coming down the runway. Carly could feel Paul tense beside her. Definite competition. You're not bringing any bags? Carly asked. Monique crossly. The words seemed to slip out. She suddenly felt like Monique's mother or something. Monique gave Carly an obnoxious smile. I have plenty of stuff, she exclaimed haughtily in broken English, which, by the way, no broken English there. Here we go. Kyle picked me up and loaded all in the van. I'm Paul. This time, Carly had forgotten to make introductions. Paul hadn't forgotten. He stuck out his hand. Monique shook it, batting her lashes. She had pert little features, including button eyes and dimples. How could Carly hope to measure up to that? There was an awkward silence. Well, looks like we're all here, said Suzanne finally. Except Boone, Kyle said. He was still sitting on the lawn, and his eyes were still closed. Oh, right, Suzanne said, slapping her forehead. I forgot Boone. She giggled. Great going, Suzanne. After all, he only organized the whole thing. As if on cue, an obnoxious roar broke the silence. All heads turned to see Boone's Kawasaki Ninja thundering down Cypress Lane. Boone rode right up onto Kyle's lawn, then back down into the street, making a tight little circle around them. He dismounted like a cowboy, getting off a horse after pulling off a prize-winning stunt in a rodeo. He pulled off his black lucite helmet and waved it in the air. Yee-haw, he shouted. Let's party!
I'm sorry, how did he dismount? Like a cowboy getting off a horse after pulling off a prize-winning trick?
Stunt.
That simile we all know, and that makes so much sense in our heads.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
This is after endangering the lives of his friends by driving a motor vehicle in a very tight circle around them.
What are the odds that as Paul extricates himself from the car and goes to introduce himself to Monique, that he is A, wearing a muscle tee.
Oh, he totally is.
And B, half...
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
He's leaning forward a little bit, we'll say. You know,
let's just hope he's not wearing sweatpants.
He's maybe adjusted himself to aim upwards, so it's less noticeable.
Yeah, you tuck it in behind the belt buckle.
Yeah,
nobody
exactly.
notices.
I want to jump ahead just because there's one more part I want to read here.
My God. Okay.
It's very important.
Sorry, I thought you were done. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, normally I would be, but I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs that are just fat-shaming Albert.
We're going to read 75% of this.
Probably. But I don't want to read the shit that's making fun of Albert's body. That's not cool.
Fuck that.
But I am going to read this part because it made me laugh super hard. Paul reached down to change gears, which meant that in the cramped convertible, he practically put his hand on Carrie's bare left knee. Yes. Sorry, he told her, flashing that sexy grin of his. No problem, Carly said. The truth was, she wouldn't have minded if he tried to shift her knee into gear. She could feel herself making goo-goo eyes at him like a puppy. Sexy.
Shift my knee into gear, daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this book definitely has an insight into female sexuality that I would describe as hecka penetrating.
Yeah, definitely. Who doesn't want their knee shifted? Oh, can't wait. I heard he's studying chiropractic.
Yeah, I also really like in that scene, you get not just the, I don't care what he does as long as his hand is on me, which is actually probably fairly accurate as far as it goes.
Yeah.
I assume that, young ladies are as driven by hormones in some ways as young men. But I kind of like and the second she turns to or thinks about Monique in any way, she's basically like, I'm going to claw her fucking eyes out.
Yeah, it's they have a very competitive relationship.
Yeah, it's like somebody trying to, violent up the Betty-Veronica dynamic.
It would be, except for the thing is, Monique is never really portrayed as being consciously, trying to be seductive or anything. It's just that she's an attractive young woman that these other boys have a crush on, and so as a result Carly must hate her.
Yeah.
Monique's behavior towards Carly throughout most of this is incredibly friendly.
We should note that Monique and Carly do end up bunking together, and they sis down for a moment.
They do. Monique has a cigarette. Carly doesn't even complain about it, even though she knows secondhand smoke is bad for
secondhand smoke kills kids.
Yeah.
Drugs are for chumps.
Oh, you know what time it is? Brewski!
We're going to have a little blast. Yeah. We're supposed to really think Carly's taking the old high road when she's nice to Monique, but Monique's having a terrible time. She doesn't like camping. She doesn't want to be out. She's more of your indoor girl, your girly girl.
And beyond that, she was straight up fucking lied to.
Yeah, well, there's that. I mean, are we going to split hairs here?
Yeah. No, it is worth mentioning old Billy Boone told her that they were all going to stay at a hotel.
Well, he told her that because he wanted to have sex with her. Are we going to punish this kind of behavior all of a sudden?
No, all right, that makes sense.
Oh, wait, no, let's punish that behavior.
Yeah, actually, that's evil and fucked up. Okay, continue.
Right.
Your turn.
Yeah, so I'd like to get dramatic. I'm going to read the bulk of Yep, That's Right.
This book.
It's true. I'm going to read the bulk of Yep, That's Right, one of the even-numbered chapters. So, set phasers to extremely PG-13 horror.
Har.
Chapter 20, A Reunion in the Woods.
Oh, yeah, these chapters have names, by the way. One of them's called The Final Kill.
Nice. The killer looked away again. Oh, God. He hadn't really seen her. Carly's heart, which seemed to have stopped beating altogether, now resumed operations. Yes! Yes! The man in the mask was backtracking, going back into the forest, going back the way he had come. Carly waited several minutes. Then she started climbing down the tree. She paid little attention when the rough bark tore into the bare skin of her arms and legs. For the first time since this nightmare had begun, she was able to think again. Her thoughts were not pleasant. There was no getting around it. The man in the mask had survived more stab wounds than was humanly possible. Boone's words came back to her once more.
Sometimes dead is better.
Jason keeps coming back from the dead. Well, monster or human, it made no difference to Carly. Whatever it was trying to kill her. Whatever it was, it would be back. Huddled at the base of the tree, Carly looked down at her hands. They were empty. The knife? She had slipped it into her pocket when she climbed the tree. After a moment of terrified groping in the dark, she found the weapon at the base of the trunk where it must have fallen.
That right there is the most accurate description of teen sex in the entire book, by the way. A moment of horrifying groping in the dark. Anyway, sorry.
Terrified groping, finding something at the base of the trunk. Yep, all checks out. Yep. She stood in the dark, her shoulders heaving as she panted in fear. The thought of waiting here was too much to bear. If she stayed, time was on the killer's side. He would find her eventually. Her only hope was to get out of the woods. She wasn't running now. She was walking slowly, one step at a time. That way, she figured the wet ground cover would help her move quietly through the woods. For over an hour, she hiked, her ears strained for any warning sounds. It was exhausting, operating at such a fevered pitch of tension. The sharp pine smell of the woods mingled with the murky smell of sweat that drenched her body. Her hands, arms, and face were covered with sap and grime. Her leg was blistered and running with pus where it had touched the motorcycle's exhaust. She kept going, and then she kept to a small clearing. There was a white stone sticking out of the ground like a marker. There was a hole in front of the hole, and by the stone was a large, dark shape, the shape of a body lying in the leaves. She moved closer, terror gripping her as surely as that tree root had grabbed her foot in the cemetery.
It wasn't a tree root.
She didn't have to look at the corpse's face. She knew who it was. It was Albert. Carly had been through so much, survived so much already, but seeing Albert's body lying here like this, it took the last little bit of hope away from her. Poor old Albert was dead, left here in the woods like so much garbage. It was mind-blowing. 1,000,000 volts to the brain. She couldn't comprehend it. Her friends were all dead. All these young people just starting out in the world. Their whole lives had stretched out ahead of them. They had done nothing wrong. Nothing to deserve this brutal horror.
Actually, every man in this book by this point has done several things very wrong. But continue, sorry.
I'm going to skip a little bit of this, but Carly felt like she was going to faint. Then she felt like she might throw up. Her mother had always coached her on various safety precautions. Carly had never needed any of them before in her life. Now, one of the tips actually came in handy. She bent over, hanging her head way down so the blood would rush back to her brain. And after a moment, the nausea and faintness began to pass. She straightened slowly. She still felt weak, and she put her hand out against a tree to steady herself. Her hand felt something wet and soft. She jerked her hand away in horror. But it was just a box. A gray cardboard box nestled in the hollow of a tree. She removed the box, which was surprisingly heavy, and set it on the ground. Then she lifted the lid. She started to scream. So did the severed head inside the box.
No! This is the first time I realized it wasn't a shoebox. And I kept trying to figure out how a head could fit in a shoebox.
God damn it! Yeah, no, that would fit very, very poorly. Like, your average like Converse box. No, that's too long and skinny.
Maybe like some limited edition Nikes or something that
like
come
the
in
super puffy kind.
Yeah, like the SB Dunks. You know, those come in a pretty wide box.
Or maybe something that for real sneakerheads where there's probably some kind of foam insert that each shoe nestles into.
Yeah.
They're not just kind of reverse spooning each other.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, maybe that kind. But no, it's not a shoebox. It's a gray cardboard box.
Oh, okay.
But with a lid. So I'm assuming it's one of those banker's boxes.
That's pretty much what was described.
I'm the head in the box.
Buried in my spit.
Yeah.
One of my favorite 90s radio edits.
Oh, such a good one. You can tell they really tried hard to just match the voice.
In my spit.
It's almost as good as the Eat My Shorts dub that I taped off TV for the Breakfast Club.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally like, eat my socks.
Nice. I think there was a time when like local affiliates did it themselves or something.
You're right.
Because I know a running joke between a friend of mine is, I think it's in Back to the Future, or maybe Back to the Future 2. Michael J. Fox says, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's their PG moment. And it was a running joke between a friend of mine and I in high school, because whenever it would play on our local station, it would go, holy jeez. So that was a big deal. Also from the Breakfast Club, did you slip her the hot beef injection line became, so tell me, Sporto, did you slip her the tongue?
Wow.
Yeah.
So the one I had was, so did you slip her the hot, wild affection?
That's so much better.
It's really creepy, though.
So is hot beef injection.
Well, if you go back to the early days of Chris Columbus's writing, when he was writing for National Lampoon, he's a bit of a creep.
Yeah. Well, surprise, the Breakfast Club has some really questionable stuff in it.
I mean, what's questionable about slipping people hot beef injections?
You know what's funny is rewatching that movie at like literally as an adult, the only male character in it who isn't a complete fucking creep is Emilio Estevez.
Maybe the janitor. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, because, the dude that you relate to as a teen outcast was Bender, and watching it as an adult, he's a fucking horrible person.
I mean, it's kind of a dickhead.
Admittedly, he's damaged, but, like, he's also a borderline sexual predator.
Look, he just considers some of them his girlfriends, and others he just considers.
Yeah. Ugh. But yeah, the jock that you're kind of supposed to hate turns out to be the one decent human being in
Fuck
that
that.
movie.
He taped a man's buns together,
Oh,
Jay.
that's true. I forgot about that. He did tape a hairy man's buns together.
hairy
and
man's
I can
buns.
relate to that. That would be horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's true.
So anyway, in conclusion, please do not tape a hairy man's buns together.
Yeah, and don't go back and watch 80s like teen romp comedies because they're just going to make you so uncomfortable.
There's a lot of, we've come a long way, baby. And speaking of coming a long way.
Yeah. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but let's segue right into our next game. Let's do a what is their fave? What is your fave?
What is your fave? What is your fave? When you're presented with a list of options, what is your fave?
So
I got all freaked out for a second.
I
there.
know.
I was what is it? Oh, in the Glaven.
There's probably a glitch in the Matrix. So this is probably going to be less limited for me than for you, because I know you didn't really grow up on this kind of movie. And slashers was never really my genre. I was a zombie kid for sure.
Yeah.
And a sci-fi monster kid for sure.
I was what you might call a wimp. And I didn't really like horror movies until probably my late 20s. And even now, I'm way more into like the psychological horror kind of ghost story type stuff than I am like human being slasher serial killer movie kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't have a broad knowledge of Friday the 13th beyond this book.
Right.
And the posters that scared the shit out of me at the video store as a kid.
A lot of pretty scary posters. So anyway, from this book, what is your fave? And for me, it's going to be from this, franchise overall. But what is your fave brutal kill of a teen?
Definitely it would be, and it happens completely off camera, but it would just be the double up kill of Kyle and Suzanne,
Oh,
where they're just meditating and then they get their throat slashed while they're meditating.
become one with the infinite.
Yeah, because you know what, man? That's what you get.
Wow. Harsh anti-yoga stance.
Fuck mindfulness. That's my new ringtone.
Flexibility is for assholes.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember what it was I was reading, but they're like, no matter how far back you go in American pop culture, like even to the 50s or the 60s, it's yoga. It's always yoga. And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, actually, I do remember what it was from, and it was a really interesting article that maybe I'll save for my recommendations. So,
Very
yeah.
good. So my favorite kill, there would probably be two. One I am familiar with from Jason X, which is sort of Jason goes to space and becomes a cyborg Jason on a space station.
I've heard this referred to on another show as the most expensive Jason fan film ever made.
I think it technically was, but then it got sort of folded into the canon later. I found it very, very good. I am also not a smart consumer or particularly savvy, but the best kill in that is, I believe, a throwback to a movie I never saw, but Jason is stalking some teens at Crystal Lake. Those teens are, there's not a delicate way to put this, so feel free to fast forward if you are easily squeamish, but they're humping in a sleeping bag.
Oh, no.
And he picks up the sleeping bag by the open end and swings it around and bashes it against a tree until they die, which is a very slapstick, ridiculous thing. And the reason I never saw that is because I saw one Jason movie as a kid, and I was kind of a fraidy cat kid. And in my mind, there was one place that was home base, and you were totally safe. And that was bed. And there's a scene where there's a teen in bed and Jason kills him by shoving an arrow up through the mattress and through the kid.
Oh, God.
And that's cheating.
Yeah, I'm really glad I didn't watch those movies as a kid. I probably would have slept on the couch for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that was a direct attack on the rules, and I never watched another one until I was close to 30 when Jason X came out.
I know one of them was called Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
And I get it mixed up in my mind with the Ernest movies a lot. And I'll sometimes just think, was there an Ernest Goes to Hell? There was an Ernest Goes to Hell, wasn't there? But yeah.
I think this is a stealth sequel to Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, because it does say he's in hell in this book. You're right.
Yeah, like the caretaker psycho ripoff guy says, like, "'Cause he's in hell now."
Winks at camera.
Yeah. He's in hell now. Coming to a video store near you June 19th.
Why is he Mayor Quimby?
Because my accents aren't very good.
It's fine. Mine aren't either.
So I believe we have yet another game.
We do. It's just one short one. It's a What Would They Do? Here's a song.
Sometimes attentions are hard to define, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
Okay, so Kyle from Kyle and Suzanne fame, as we mentioned earlier, entertains his fellow teens by whipping out a guitar and trying to play some old classic rock. And it's not received well, but he just keeps playing it anyway. But let's say you were Kyle and you wanted to actually please the people around you. What 1990s hit song do you think you would whip out on the acoustic guitar there? This book was released in 94. I feel like it was probably written around 91 or 92. I would say somewhere between those points are your criteria. And it would help if you could give us a couple bars of it, too.
Yeah. So I think Steal My Sunshine was much too late.
Yeah, that's later 90s or maybe even early thousands.
I think I would have to go, "Oh, you're unbelievable."
That's a good one. Andrew Dice Clay sample, folks.
Yeah.
When I discovered that, it blew my
The
mind.
things you say.
Your purple prose just scares me away, much like this book. Wow. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what those words were.
Yeah. I actually really like EMF.
Yeah. So
Grebo.
I might go somewhere down that, or I just might, because you're, as I've said earlier, you're a hippie in the early 90s. You're probably not really into classic rock. Probably what I would do is my acoustic whistle replacing slide whistle version of "Groove is in the Heart."
D-Light.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's any guitar in that song. I know Bootsy Collins is in it. When Jungle DJ Tawate. D-Light fucking ruled.
Yeah, they had one song.
No, they had several. They were very influential in many ways in the world of electronica.
Yeah, they influenced the shit out of Space Channel 5.
I guess for me, I was thinking about it a lot, and I think it would be the big hit song to come out of a television show that lasted precisely 6 episodes, I think, called The Heights, which was a little tune called "How Do You Talk to an Angel?"
I mean, let's be real. I would 100% have done Polly.
Yeah.
I
I mean, if we're being realistic, it wouldn't be that. But if it was me trying to impress these kids, it would totally be, "How do you talk to an angel?"
Oh my God. Was Life is a High? That was like 94, right?
The original one.
Yeah.
Not Rascal Flatts, but the Tom Cochran.
The Tom Cochran. Yeah. So I would definitely like, "All Night Long."
I was thinking that maybe, or like an acoustic guitared up version of Boys to Men, "End of the Road" would be really good.
And if you listen carefully, you can hear not just the plectrum dancing across the strings, but you can hear the panties falling gently to the earth.
Because that was.
I'm so sorry I just said that.
Yeah, I'm sorry you said that too. But that was literally the last dance at my junior high school prom. So was "End of the Road."
Yeah, I mean, these like classic rock kids. Like, what's next? So we're going to do a couple Doors songs. Also, Doors on an acoustic guitar,
Pretty bad.
kind of a questionable move, but okay.
He plays Stones, it said as well.
Okay, here's American Pie.
Oh.
All you kids, you're ready to hear about the day the music died, right?
I would agree with that, except I don't think anyone in the world has ever memorized all the lyrics to that song unless they're on a karaoke sheet in front of them.
Don McLean sitting there like trying to pass, turn the page while still keeping up on his guitar.
Shit. I don't know. Maybe the theme from That Thing You Do?
Oh, I don't think I know that song.
That would have been the wrong time period anyway. But Yeah, I don't know. I'm running out of options. I think I would definitely be going with How Do You Talk to an Angel? Or if we were going to be more realistic and we're actually talking about me around that point, it would be like a Sam I Am song that everyone else hated that I thought was super profound. So, like, be like, this one's called Don't Break Me.
Have you guys heard of Operation Ivy?
Yeah.
Well, you're about to.
Yeah. This next one's called Sound System. Everybody sing along with the part that goes pick it up.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Okay, so this was a disturbing tour into our misspent youths.
I'm still thinking, I'm like, yeah, probably some All.
Oh.
Maybe a Descendant song, but not one of the homophobic ones.
Yeah, you know, if you're trying to pick up a lady, I recommend avoiding Clean Sheets.
Yeah. Not literally, but avoiding the song Clean Sheets by the Descendants.
Yeah, never avoid Clean Sheets, literally. That would just be foolish.
You're
Come on.
cheating yourself anyway. The clean sheets are one of the true pleasures of life.
Also, I've been hearing some extremely disturbing things about towels recently.
Oh, and it's true.
Gentlemen, your towels should be laundered and run through the dryer. Let's say if you're going more than 2 weeks, that's definitely not good,
Yeah, and you know what else?
regardless of climate.
There is a giant difference between a beach towel and a bath towel, despite what you may think.
Know it, love it,
Yeah.
observe it.
Another thing, washcloths exist. And so do hand towels.
Yeah.
These are tips
Yeah,
for quote-unquote adulting.
adulting, yeah. Every Sunday, I like to take a look at my nails, and lo and behold, it usually looks like they need a quick cut, so I give it to them.
I'm lucky in that I play guitar, so that kind of happens automatically because I reach a point where I can no longer play the guitar.
Can't fret, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, I got to cut my nails, or I won't be able to record that bitchin' cover of Are You Ready for the Sex Girls?
I've been growing them out real long in my right hand so I can work on my flamenco style, but that's different.
Yeah, that's the Andre Segovia style.
Yeah, precisely. So anyway, perhaps we should take a quick break and come back with some things that are not from this intriguing book that I remember as being about an oddly structured month. A month with lots and lots of Fridays. This book, The 13th Friday.
Cutting through the jungle of nonsense like a machete, we are back. And,
Stabbing up from under your bed.
no, that's cheating. You said that already.
Totally cheating.
We play by the rules. We're back. We're done talking about Friday the 13th, Mother's Day.
Most likely forever.
Yeah, hopefully. But I don't know. I kind of want to read more of these books the next time we have a really busy month and we just need something easy. It's good to know there's 3 more of these stupid things. And I bet they're all just as funny as this one.
Eric Morse, or whatever your actual name was, from, not the bottom, but middle of my heart. Thank you.
I think he just put together like the names of like his favorite prog rockers or something. So Steve Morse, right? He was
Steve Morse, estimable guitar player, most famous for his work in Kansas, but really put himself on the map with a country-inflected jazz fusion band.
the Dixie Dregs.
The Dixie Dregs.
Yeah. And I'm sure there were at least 8 prog rockers named Eric, so... Maybe he just like really liked solo guitar, and it was like Eric Johnson and Steve Morse mixed together.
Ooh, yeah. There's a kind of a shred vibe to this. I could see that.
I mean, we already said he probably wears his hat backwards, and this was 1994, so there's a very good chance this fella may have been surfing with the alien, as they say.
Just all the way to the cliffs of Dover.
Anyway, recommending things we like. That's what we do now. I'm going to start. I mentioned it earlier. It's an article I was reading. It turns out it doesn't have the exact yoga quote I was thinking. I think I just continue to go down a rabbit hole after reading this, but this is on themillions.com. It's by a writer named Katie Prout, and it's called To Keep a Sluttish House. I found this really entertaining because I think it's a good... There was an argument a while ago about Marie Kondo and, the idea of sparse minimalism as a way to achieve joy through housekeeping, basically. And, people argued back and forth a lot about that. It even spilled onto the Fun Time Party Pit for a little bit. And this, while it's not saying, hey, that's a bunch of bullshit, this is a woman who just talks about how it's totally okay to, if you want a bunch of clutter, you can have a bunch of clutter too. And then she kind of digs into the way kind of Americans have treated kind of the quote-unquote Orientalist aspect of minimalism as this kind of novelty throughout kind of the history of the 20th century and the 21st century. And she gets pretty deep into that. And I think it's really interesting also because it's put through the framing device of her reading the word sluttish somewhere and then looking it up in the dictionary when her parents weren't around, and the illicit thrill of looking up bad words. So just a combo between those two topics, I found it really interesting. So yeah, To Keep a Sluttish House by Katie Prout, I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice. I'm going to be similar, but much less au courant. As we've both mentioned, it's been a super busy couple of weeks for the show.
Yeah, the book we read for our live show was Dan Brown's Inferno, which it should be mentioned. We wanted to thank everyone who came out to that. That was awesome.
Super fun. Thank you so much.
But god damn it, that's a long book.
That's a long ass book. So I don't know if I talked about this when we recorded, but I did two things. One thing that I've never done before. In getting through that book. One thing is I listened to a lot of it via audiobook, which I do frequently, but this time it was just so long that I gritted my teeth and I listened to almost all of it sped up.
Oh, finally.
Yeah.
So you experienced the fun of hearing people talk like this too.
Yeah. And for a while, if I was absolutely not doing anything else, I could kick it up to 1.5.
Oh man, that's stressful.
And pay it. Yeah. And it was almost an anxiety attack.
Yeah, that it's anxiety inducing. I can only do 1.25.
Yeah, I did the bulk of it at 1.25, and it is exactly what you say. There's a lot of very fast talking, and it really ruins a lot of the dramatic elements.
But it is good when
much.
a man is doing a really bad fake accent, and you hear him go Dante Alighieri.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff.
So anyway, I have previously called people who listen to things at not their intended speed perverts on this show. And I just want to acknowledge that I, too, have wallowed in the filth and depravity of doing this perverted act.
Agreed. I think there's a difference between something that, say, is, what's the word I'm looking for? Required versus for enjoyment. I don't think I would ever listen to anything at 1.25 speed for fun.
Right.
But when it's something I have to knock the fuck out, let's get it over with as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So anyway, we've had two completely on top of everything else episodes of the last couple of weeks really cut into the old fun time reading. The other night, though, I was looking at Noodle's magazine pile and I was like, oh, N+1, I never read those. So I pulled out a couple from years ago, or at least a couple of years ago, and among the very good things I read in the number 28 issue from spring of 2017, if you can remember that far back.
Oh, the glory days.
Yeah, the halcyon days of spring of 2017. And I read this article called Ghost in the Cloud by Meghan O'Giblin, or Giblin, forgive me for butchering your name. It is about the transhumanist movement and how it is covertly related to an awful lot of theological thinking of the last couple of centuries. And it's also kind of like your story mixed in with a lot of sort of personal essay elements that I didn't expect to see there. And that added quite an interesting flavor to it up to the end, which I won't say anything about, but which is notable, I felt, in an essay like this. So, these will both be linked for the show notes. As you know, or as you may not know, the show notes, if you can't find them in your podcasting app, just go to the website. They're always there, broken up episode by episode, and you can always click on stuff there.
True that. So, we get mail, and then we play this song.
A, letter B, letter C, letter D, letter E, letter F, letter G, letter, got a lot
All right, so the letter song has been played. It's time for letters. Ooh, and it looks like we've got physical things because I hear a rustling.
Physical male, physical male. Don't mind him, he's just a physical male.
American males, American males, American males, American males, American male. You can stop me whenever you want.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were doing, so I thought you'd probably just like ride it out.
No, that's how the song goes.
Oh, okay, cool. This letter goes like so. Hi, guys. I got turned on to IDEO TV by a link to one of your episodes in a fark.com thread. Excuse me?
Whoa, does that still exist?
I don't know.
Cool. That's good to know. People are talking about us on websites I thought stopped existing 10 years ago.
I just think it's a offensive thing to hear. Fark. Who talks like that?
These kids and their fake profanities.
I know. The topic of the thread was Jordan Peterson, and the link was to your episode dealing with 12 rules for life. I clicked, listened, and proceeded to laugh. After both Earth Crisis and Gorilla Biscuits references were dropped in that episode, I knew you guys were legit. And all of a sudden, I know something about this writer.
I know that I want to be friends with them.
Yep. In one episode, I can't remember which one now, Collision references Botch, which really made my day. Good news, it's more than one episode.
South Carolina's finest, motherfuckers.
We know they're not from South Carolina.
Yeah, that's part of the running joke is me fucking that up.
I love me some Botch. Anyway, I have a Botch shirt that doesn't fit me anymore, so I thought I'd pass it along.
Awesome.
If it doesn't fit or it's not your style, no worries. Just give it to someone who will wear it and appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Keep doing what you do. Tom.
All right, so what size is it is the question, because I believe we wear different sizes.
We'll get to that, but check this shit out.
Oh, that is an amazing shirt, but it's far too small for me, and I'm sad. It's got some two topless gentlemen in Navy uniforms.
Navy gear. One is handing the other an extremely phallic beer.
Yeah.
This is an adult M.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a little too chubs for that.
But read the caption under the very, I would say, Raymond Pettibon doing Tom O'Finland art.
The best boy band ever.
Yes.
That is great. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. I'm like, do I know anyone? Because unfortunately, much like me, most of my friends who were into botch back in the day, I'd say, later on grew to like beer a lot.
Most of your botch fans are, how to put this, fighting in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, I feel like if I
days.
was back down to my fighting weight where I used to be, say right before I got married, I could probably rock a medium. But as of right now, I am strictly an XL.
Yeah. This is the coolest shirt. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze into it, but that's really just because I feel that if I didn't, I wouldn't be doing my due diligence.
Beyond that, too, if you're ever going to wear a tight T-shirt, that is the tight T-shirt to wear.
That is the tight T-shirt to wear. But if you are a listener, I know that this experiment is just going to make me feel bad. So if you are a listener who is ready for a botch shirt in their life and can fit a men's medium.
And is ready to make some people uncomfortable with your botch shirt, which it should be added.
Or if you're like me who 90 days out of 100 wears a collared shirt but then wears a band T-shirt under it because I'm secretly a cool guy. Then just get at us in one of the social channels and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, definitely. This needs to go to someone who can appreciate it.
This shirt needs to be not on the wall or on a shelf. This shirt needs to be in the world.
It definitely doesn't need to end up at like a Goodwill or something where no one will ever buy it. It needs to continue its legacy of making toxic men uncomfortable in bars.
Absolutely. So. and if you are thinking, maybe I could buy that and sell it on the secondary market,
we'll be watching. Please
do not do that.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's not what we're looking to do here. This is like a Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants thing, and it's very important that you get this for the intended reason, which is to wear.
Think of this shirt as a puppy.
Yeah.
This is free to a good home.
Exactly.
It's forever home. If you're not going to provide a forever home for this on your body.
Plus, beyond that, if you think you're going to get a lot of money for a bot shirt on eBay, I believe I have bad news for you.
Yeah, I mean, I might buy it for way too much money and then be extremely upset when I realized that it was a medium.
Yeah.
Okay. Here is another package. Jay in Collision. Hi, guys. My wife introduced me to the dulcet tones of IDEO TV last year, and you've become my stalwart dog-walking companions.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that in real life as well. Let me pet your dog.
Yeah, send pics. At this point, except for Armada, which I still plan to read,
No.
I believe I have listened to all your episodes. Being an American Southwest resident, one anomaly struck me. You have yet to make fun of my favorite pubescent libertarian reading genre, the bad Western.
That's a good point.
I've had this on my radar for a long time. Like I was actually poking through a spinner rack of ancient paperbacks yesterday, kind of looking for a bad Western. My thing is, I'm so ignorant about the genre. Like, what if I grab one because it's got a goofy cover, but it's secretly good?
Yeah, it ends up being a classic that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And then people are like, look at these dummies.
Exactly. and like the kind of people who know about Westerns who would like make fun of me on the internet, that intimidates me far too much.
Yeah. I think we might need some guidance, actually.
Well, let me read you the second paragraph of this letter.
Perfect.
To rectify this stunning gap in your repertoire, I've enclosed 2 copies of a book that at age 14 was the right kind of rugged individualism escapism for a skinny nerd, and now reads as the excited alternate history ramblings of Glenn Beck, as edited by William F. Buckley Jr.
Oh, God. Well, that's frightening.
Whether you can find the time to grind through the reimagined Civil War or continue on your journey of bad book discovery sans horses and Stetsons, I've included a few Southwest snacks to sustain your mental energies.
Yum.
Keep riding the crab. Jeremy, fake first name, so as not to be confused with your longtime supporter. Fake last name.
That's good.
That might be the first ever double fake names. Normally when people would want that much obfuscation, they would just say, please don't read this on the air.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Oh shit, there's crunchy granola in here, that it's labeled better than granola, which is appropriate for the book we just read. Uh-oh.
We have some official Desert Rain, Dia de los Muertos, pure glycerin soap that glows in the dark, and it looks like a sugar skull.
Whoa, that rules. Oh my God. So there's 2 separate covers on this. It is William W. Johnstone, a book called Talons of Eagles. And on one, there's a guy standing studly with his, Civil War era outfit.
He's got a neckerchief, I believe.
He's definitely got a neckerchief, and he's got kind of a Tom Selleck mustache.
Nice.
A rousing, 2-fisted saga of the growing American frontier, says Publishers Weekly. And the other one is more of a photograph, sort of a... I don't know how can I put this?
Lee Greenwood Jr. perhaps.
USA Network mini-series level.
I was
actor.
really like, I'm getting some America We Stand as One vibes from that for sure.
I mean these books stand for the anthem.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Much like every player will be required to do in the XFL coming next year.
I'm just going to read the last paragraph of the back of the book. When the guns of war finally fall silent, a vengeful enemy vows to add another chapter to the blood-stained pages of history by hunting down the soldier named Jamie Ian McAllister. It's actually that sounds like a wrestling promo to me.
Yeah, I was also like,
another chapter, brother.
Yo, brother. I was trying to think about why Jamie Ian McAllister sounded familiar, and I realized it's because Jamie Lannister. So I was like, where have I heard this name? Oh, it's a bastardized Game of Thrones name, and I'm a nerd.
Nerd. There's also, there's some snacks. Thank you so much, including a Satan jerky.
I was just going to ask, is there a jerk? Eating. Is there a jerk in the bag?
Well, there's a jerky for you of Wagyu beef. And
Ooh.
jerky for me of delicious Hail Satan.
Nice.
There's also...
So vegetarianism doesn't include the devil then.
That's true.
That's good to know.
There's also 2 extremely controversial bookmarks, and I mean controversial because we're going to have to fight over which one of us gets which. I'll ask you to do the reveal.
All right. Oh my goodness. One of them says, I like big books that I cannot lie.
You other brothers can't deny.
And then the other one has a, I'd say like a 1950s styled drawing of a woman reading, laying down, and it says, my workout is reading in bed until my arms hurt. Both of these are incredible. Yeah, we are going to have to fight for these.
this is going to be the most contentious thing since the last contentious
We'll
thing.
have the best 2 out of 3 Rochambeau or something once we're done recording because...
There's also an amazing sticker.
Oh, awesome. Always topical got milk joke.
Yeah.
That says got guano instead. Which the answer is no, surprisingly.
From Kartchner Caverns State Park in Benson, Arizona, which I'm going to guess is a bat-heavy
Oh,
cavern.
wow. Is that an air freshener?
No, it's a little keychain.
Oh, that's better.
In
Okay.
a super cool, spooky bat thing.
Yeah.
Or bat silhouette. I'm going to use my words.
Yeah.
It's a silhouette,
Yes.
not a
thing. Yeah, it's good. You know, it's an audio medium. Being descriptive.
Yeah, thank you for this box of thing.
There's thing in here, and it's shaped like a bat thing.
Thank you so much for listening to us talk about thing.
With pages.
I need some more coffee. Sorry for that, everybody. But thank you so much. These are amazing. And William W. Johnstone, that is a name that sounds vaguely familiar.
I'm willing to bet that's not a real name, but
Right.
yeah, it does sound familiar.
So
I wonder if this is like the Patterson of the Westerns or something.
maybe. And you know, if you are searching through our back pages, craving Western action, I might suggest that you get down with the Shadow Wolves and their way, because that's very much the closest we've come.
Yeah, and even that is more like tactical government action that just happens in the Southwest. But
Yeah.
it's written by Steven Seagal, so it's completely fucking bonkers.
I would like to second everything you just said, except I'd like to add scare quotes around written by and Steven Seagal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Dictated in a fever dream.
Yeah, it was mumbled quietly to someone else by Steven Seagal.
And then cleaned up. Sort of?
Yeah.
So thank you so much. If you would like to send us electronic mail, you can do so at I don't even own a television at gmail.com. If you'd like to tweet us and tell me I suck at plot in 60 seconds, trust me, I know. But you can do that at IDEOTV pod. That's also where we are on Facebook.
Yep, and also on the old patreon.com/IDEOTV pod.
How could I forget?
It's a pretty cool thing because you can support us directly if you like the show and you want to do so. Even if you don't want to donate any money, you can still sign up to the feed there and occasionally get weird little extras.
Yeah.
Everyone who donates at $5 or above gets what?
Well, I think, Jay, that what they get is one episode additional per month.
That's right. We don't just read 2 bad books per month now. Now we read 2 bad books and sometimes 3. Although sometimes we kind of cheap out and we do, we watch a documentary about Motley Crue.
Yeah, the popular Netflix documentary about Motley Crue that you've been hearing so much about, or perhaps a timely look at Mad Magazine or Archie Comics.
Yep. But I will say...
by the way, okay, so we did Mad not too many months ago. I was at the whole... You thought I was going to say foods, but I call it the whole paycheck. So I'm in line at the whole paycheck the other day, and in their magazine rack, they had another newer current issue of Mad Magazine, and my tiny little mind just exploded. At Whole fucking Foods?
Weird.
Was it? I'm sure it was like in front of a magazine about white Buddhism.
Yeah, like, do you think maybe somebody stuck that in and just left it there as a joke?
Okay, if you did that and you're hearing this, please email me because I want to learn from your pranking ways.
No, that would be a great prank.
That is an amazing. I don't know. What would you call that? It's not a hack. It's like the prank that they did back in the day with replacing the Barbie and G.I. Joe voice boxes.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the stuff that Obvious Plant does, where they, just bring random things into stores with funny labels and just leave them mixed in with the real merchandise.
But what do you call it? There used to be a specific...
Culture jamming?
Culture jamming, yes, that's exactly it. So, yeah, if you're sneaking Mad Magazine into Whole Paycheck, you're a genius, and maybe you should be running the show.
I was going to say, though, if you do elect to support us at the $5 level, you don't just get the bonus content moving forward, you get all of the bonus episodes that we've ever done.
Wait,
which
really?
Does include The Dirt, which I think is one of my favorite things we've done in quite a long time, probably because most of it is just talking about music for 2 hours. But if you think Motley Crue is stupid, you will really enjoy this episode.
There will be fuel for your thinking that going forward. If you think spending 2 hours talking about Motley Crue is stupid, there will also be fuel for you thinking that going forward.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's about it, right? Yeah, we mentioned Facebook. Oh, yeah, there's the I Don't Even Own a Television Fun Time Party Pit on Facebook.
Party pit.
It is what it sounds like. It's just a barrel of good times where you can talk about like-minded people who are also fans of the show and avid readers. I think there's over like 2,500 people in there now.
There's a ton of people in there. They talk about good books. They talk about bad books. They show pictures of crabs. Every once in a while, there's it's the internet. So every once in a while, there's a thread of nothing but pet pictures.
I was going to say, sometimes people post pictures of their cats and dogs.
Yes.
And those are my favorite times.
Those are pretty much the best days.
Yeah. So anyway, check that out. And thank you so much for listening. I think that's about it. So until next time, I was going to say slash the crab, but please don't.
No, don't do that. Until the next time, scuttle away from the man with the machete.
Exactly. Ride the crab right through the cool mountain lake.
Yes, ride the crab to the shores of Crystal Lake.
There we go.